Last week we streamed the meditation gathering on Wednesday night, and technical error happened. The technical error was that my thumb wasn't working correctly, and I failed to turn on the microphone for the lapel microphone that I have on now for the recording until I realized it right before the meditation. So the first, 20, 25 minutes of the talk, which is kind of the setup for the meditation, was not recorded. And so what I wanted to do was really want to get this message out, and then I'll edit it and put it in with the last Wednesday's meditation, and then I'll put it online so people like yourself can view it. And the reason I wanted to get this out is because the subjects that I'm speaking of are very, very important. Primarily, it is the sixth step of the Eightfold Path, which is skillful effort. And skillful effort has everything to do with meditation and everything to do with the understanding of awakening, enlightenment, and what this means for us and how we can actually experience this through our meditation practice. Firstly, the 5 hindrances and the 10 fetters are generally what people speak of when they talk about skillful effort in the Buddhist Eightfold Path. And these really set up and explain and allow a deeper understanding of the practice of meditation and the path itself, the path of Buddhism. I like to use the analogy of a garden. People do a lot of gardening. If they don't do gardening, they understand weeds. And the analogy is speaking of weeds within a garden. And I love gardening myself. I do gardening all the time. When I was living in Wisconsin, I was gardening extensively. I mean, a huge garden there. And then when I moved out to Arizona, after learning about the different ways of gardening, the year-round actually gardening that they do here has been very fruitful. And so I do love gardening, but there's always the competition between keeping the soil ready, keeping it nourished, and keeping it weed-free. Now, these weeds are a wonderful analogy for what I want to speak of, the 5 hindrances and the 10 fetters. If we have weeds in a garden, we can see the tops of the weeds. We can't see the bottoms. We know that there's roots to it, just like any other plant. And if we wanted to actually make our garden look nice, let's say we have some company coming over, some distinguished guests are coming over, and we think, well, they might be looking at our garden. So we go outside and go, sure enough, this is my garden, but there's weeds in it. So we just pick off the tops of the weeds. And we do it very quickly because we're in a hurry. They're arriving soon. And lo and behold, the garden looks wonderful. It looks great. But we know inside that down underneath there are roots. And these roots, if they're not pulled up, the plant will show its greenness, its face, again in a couple of days for sure. So in the meantime, the garden looks good. Now, the tops of these weeds are what we could refer to as the fetters, the 5 fetters. These fetters are desire, ill will, sometimes called aversion, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and doubt. These 5 areas. And these 5 hindrances, they're actually called hindrances because they can hinder our meditation practice. They can hinder the liberation that we can achieve through meditation. They can make us feel incomplete in meditation, but they can also make us feel incomplete in daily life. They can hinder our happiness and our completeness. And what I mean by completeness is that feeling that we all obtain at some point, on and off probably, that there's nothing that I need to provide happiness for me. There is nothing that has to change at this moment anyway for me to be happy. That is what I'm referring to as being complete. And sometimes I refer to as being complete in the moment. And these are times that we can experience that in meditation and everyday life. And when we do experience that, there are no hindrances. The hindrances are what complicate that experience and do not allow that to happen. So, we can take care of that garden by removing these green tops of these weeds, and we can do that within ourselves too. We can pull out all the weeds and everything looks great, but it's temporary until we reach these levels of awakening, or what many refer to as enlightenment. When we look at the roots to these weeds, this is another story. This is what are called the hindrances. The fetters. And I don't really have time within these short few minutes to go into all of the hindrances. But what I want to do is speak of the first three. Well, we can go a little bit deeper in that just real quickly here, but when we eradicate the first three hindrances, this is what is termed a stream enterer, as if somebody's dipping their toe into the water of liberation. And so a stream enterer is actually a level of awakening. The Buddha laid all this out for us. When we eradicate the next two fetters, these are called the higher fetters, we become a once returner. When we eradicate all five of these feathers, we become a non-returner. And this gets a little bit complicated, but I'll clarify in a moment. And then when we eradicate the rest of the fetters, the five fetters, which are called the lower fetters, we become an arhat. In other words, an awakened being within this lifetime, within this world, such as the Buddha and other beings that we would consider enlightened. So the first thing, the primary thing that we have to understand is that when we eradicate these first three fetters, this is a level of awakening. And many people feel as if they are totally awakened. And that's okay, but we don't want to forget that there's more that can be done. And a lot of times these first three fetters are eradicated, but they might come back, just like the hindrances. So that means that the roots aren't actually pulled up. So once we pull up the roots, like in these weeds, they don't come back. And that's what we want to do with these weeds, these negativities in the mind. These are things that aren't brought into our lives from a crappy childhood or anything like that. These are states that we've been carrying around for many years, and depending on our belief, many lifetimes. That we've actually carried these from our past lives into what is happening now, and that's why this is such valuable information. It's very important that we understand this. Now, these first three fetters, and again, once these are eradicated, it's a life-changing thing, a totally life-changing thing. These first three fetters are the absence of, the identity view, the absence of a belief in a permanent self, doubt, and belief in rites, that rites and rituals are all we need to become liberated or to become awakened. Let me speak of that first. This what is called the eighth, what we could call it the eighth fetter. Rites and rituals. If somebody believes that just simply going to church once a week will allow them to become enlightened, they're mistaken. In the Buddhist faith, a lot of people, they pay their respects to the Buddha by lighting 3 sticks of incense, doing 3 bows, and then putting it in a huge incense burner in front of the Buddha to pay respects to him. I've seen thousands and thousands of people do this in China when I was there, and other parts of the world too. They visit a temple. They might be tourists. They purchase some incense, maybe a big packet if they're with a family, or maybe just 3 pieces of incense if they're by themselves. They go to the young girl that's selling the incense, and they buy the incense, and they light it, and they pay their respects. Usually this represents the paying respect to the Dharma, or the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, or the 3 worldly conditions. And then we would put these in a great big, sometimes a huge incense burner, sometimes a smaller one, but it's a way to pay respect to the Buddha. And a lot of people think that is all they need, that they're now a good Buddhist, and they'll be reborn into a heavenly realm, or not reborn at all. So in other words, that they would become fully enlightened without a rebirth. No karma, no rebirth. And that's another teaching. But it's not that simple. The Buddha said that we have to apply effort. We have to have the wisdom and the morality and the practices of meditation and concentration, mindfulness, these types of things. And that's what we're talking about here. Now, the area of doubt, if we have any doubt left in us, doubt of the practice, doubt of the higher teachings, doubt in our ability to become awakened, doubt that any of this is going to benefit us at all, we won't do it. We just will not go there. If there's any doubt within the mind, it will stop us from reaching any kind of attainments, from waking up. So that leaves one more area that we have time to talk about right now, and that is what is called, in the Pali words, anatta, but it means identity view, or the absence of self, or non-self. And this can be a very, very confusing teaching for a lot of people, but I want to make it very simple because it pertains directly, or so that it pertains directly to the meditation practice. So when we are in this quiet, still place, we bring our attention to the breath, or bring our attention to whatever our meditation object might be. And at that moment, we are allowing the awareness of the body to leave. That's usually the first thing to go when we're concentrated, is this body. Now, when the body leaves, we are going from somebody to nobody. And these are just words that I think are very useful in remembering this. We're going from somebody, that we actually feel that this body is us, to nobody, that we are not identifying with the body as being me. And when that happens, there is usually kind of a shift and kind of a feeling of being liberated at that moment. And that's why meditation can be very, very, very blissful. One of the reasons, there's many reasons why meditation can be blissful and bring about joy, but one of it is that the body temporarily leaves us. And for many people, it can just be temporarily, like a microsecond. And for other people, it can actually leave for a long time, maybe for a half hour or more, where it's just like mental stuff. And that's where we go into the next step. We have to be able to let go of other people's relationships, because we spend a lot of energy with other people and with these relationships. When we think about the past and think about the future, generally there's always other people involved. What we're going to say to them, or what we said to them, how we're going to work with these people, or how we're going to deal with this or that relating to other people. So if we can set these other people aside, we're going from the mind space from someone to no one. And that's not only us. Before it was body, somebody to nobody. Now we're going from someone to no one, and that includes all beings, all entities. And so It's a deeper, really a deeper liberation that happens there. And this all happens in our meditation, and it's something that everybody generally experiences, but they don't even realize it. So this is a part of the understanding. From there, we want to set aside our job, where we live, our home, the country, the region, even where we're sitting at this moment. So we're going from somewhere to nowhere. This is a deeper level of liberation again. It all has to do with non-self, because we need the self to have this body. We need the self to associate with others. We need the self to realize that my body and this beingness is here, or I own this, or I own that. I live in Arizona, or wherever it might be. The next step, whether we realize it or not, is that we go from a material existence to an immaterial existence. Sometimes this is referred to as the quantum field. Sometimes it's the place of pure potentiality. But it is going from this worldly view to a non-worldly view. We go within. And the subtitle to one of my books is the practice of going within, and that's exactly what meditation is. So when we eliminate all of this out there, there's no place to go except for the immaterial world. And so we're going from this place of strong ego and strong self to a place of being virtually selfless, non-self. And this is really the tip of the iceberg of this teaching in general of anatta. Very confusing for a lot of people, but really we all experience it when we go into meditation. Now, it's not like this is going to be experienced for an hour. If we did an hour meditation, that this is going to happen. No. I mean, we want to meditate. We don't want to have to shift the body around. That's one of the instructions, is to let the body calm down, and body calms down, the mind calms down. But there might be an ache or pain in the body, some kind of discomfort in the body. So immediately our attention goes to the body, like my knee hurts. So that means my body hurts. But the more we realize that this is not my knee, it's not my body, that it is just a body, and it's a material thing, just like anything else, like the chair or anything else in the room, that it is just borrowed. It's nothing that we own. It's just something that is a part of the material, that when we close our eyes, all of this fades away. Then we come back into this area of non-self. Anyway, this is a huge, huge teaching. There's many good books on it. There's many classes on it. We've done 8-week courses on this subject alone. But I wanted to put it out there because it totally relates to our meditation practice. So the 5 hindrances, desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, which is fatigue of mind and body, restlessness and worry, the habitual going over things with the mind, and doubt. These are the things that hamper our meditation practice and hamper our happiness and our contentment with life. Primarily the idea of being complete in the world, being complete with who we are and what we're doing. And then the 10 fetters. The 10 fetters, if you really want to see, believe it or not, a really good source on the 10 fetters is Wikipedia. Type in 10 fetters of Buddhism, and there's a wonderful information page that will come up and explain the 10 fetters to you. But if you have any questions, please let me know. And this very first step of the 10 fetters, non-self, can be practiced directly in our meditation practice. And that is what meditation is all about. So please practice every day. And I'm going to go from this film into the meditation that we did for the gathering on last Wednesday. So please enjoy. And if you have any questions, contact me or write them down below in the comment area, and I will respond. All right? Thank you very much. Okay, so we will do a meditation. Please make yourself comfortable. I will speak about this a little bit in the guiding, and then we will have a period of silence. Closing the eyes. So we want to come into that place of presence, of stillness. We're letting go of the past and the future, focusing on this area of the breath, whatever it might be. And then when focusing, even lightly, we find ourselves in this present moment. It's as if the past and the future were the black halves or the black sides of an Oreo cookie, and the present moment was the white sweet stuff in the middle. That's where we can reside or rest in our meditation practice. And when we come into that present moment, we go from somebody to nobody, because actually we are not concerned about the body at this time. There may be some discomfort, maybe even some pain. But if we're focusing adequately, these won't mean anything. We want to relinquish our relationships temporarily, not to be cruel or feeling above anybody, but in our formal practice of meditation, we don't want to be concerned about others. We don't want to be using that energy to think about how we've dealt with others in the past or how we will deal with them in the future. We don't want to be concerned about our work, our homes, our cars. So we move from no thing or something to no thing. Nobody with no thing. And we don't want to be too concerned about where we are, where we live, or where we have been, or where we even are at this moment, or even where we're sitting. So we're going from somewhere to nowhere. And the result is that we abide in this area where it's pure energy, pure potentiality. Where life becomes much easier. We can create easier. So everything is connected. We're moving beyond form. And we actually become the vortex for our world. So nobody, no thing, and nowhere. Abiding and resting in this presence, this stillness. This is our practice of meditation. We just want to extend these moments of this stillness, and just let our true nature come through, realizing that this is who we are beyond the past and the future, the predictable past and the hopeful future. And rest in this presence. This is our true nature. Thank you. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. May we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face in this world. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it was very quiet. Thank you for sharing the space with me. Who had a good meditation?
Do what?
Who had a good meditation?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody but Amy. You didn't have a good meditation? It was terrible? Why was it?
Because my mind.
Was it the monkey jumping from branch to branch?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of day did you have? Monkey branch day?
Yeah, one of those days. One of those weeks, actually.
Yeah. One of those weeks. And the week's only half over, so. Yeah, meditation is like a reflection of what happens throughout our day, so. Are you meditating every day?
Mm-hmm.
You are, good.
Mm-hmm.
You meditate in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. So you meditate before you go to work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And how are those meditations? Are they usually pretty good?
Some are and some aren't.
Yeah.
A lot of thinking. And I struggle, my biggest hindrance is the restlessness and worry.
Oh, yeah.
I really struggle with that one.
Everybody kind of
Me
agrees.
too, especially at women. That's my thing. Yeah.
Everybody's kind of agreeing with you on that one. You're famous. Yeah, it's really easy. It's habitual. We do it. We've been doing it all of our lives, worrying about the past, even worrying about the future. And it's all a creation of the mind. So it's every meditation is different. It's not that one is supposed to be good and one is supposed to be bad necessarily. That's just the way it is, because all of our days are different too. So, like I said, meditation is a reflection of what's happening, throughout our day, reflection of life. If you're observing and you're aware that you're observing, you're being mindful.
So I'm being mindful and I'm being detached to a certain degree, but sometimes those thoughts will come and really grab me.
Yeah.
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 And
So there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I'm glad you actually brought up, especially the area of counting, because like in Amy's situation where the monkey mind is really strong.
just strong, yeah, running.
And the Buddha never used the term monkey mind. I don't know why we are, but
You can always tell, they're always at the temples.
like counting, something a little bit more active, would be a good tool for that. All these different things that we can do. Sometimes using the mala, actually using it to count, and something with more activity. So we're broadening that field of concentration, that field of focus. We're just making it bigger, because sometimes we just have to do that.
I do use counting in the morning.
Yeah.
And I use the mala.
Yeah. Those are pure concentration practices. When we aren't when we aren't observing our thoughts, like Joe was saying, or when we are just kind of turning off everything and just kind of bearing down, that's concentration. And when I first started actually making headway in concentration, leading towards jhana, it was through counting. Something that simple. Just kind of bringing it back. Kind of almost forcefully, but gently. Bringing it back, and I realized that after that meditation, I felt happy. I felt like there was a lot of joy there, because I was getting somewhere and I was actually turning things off. I think the biggest mistake that we can do is allow the mind to have its way, to go off like that, and and to plan too. You know, planning is very habitual. I catch myself doing that.
I keep telling myself that I'll take that up later and I come back to my breath, but some days
Yeah,
it just keeps going there.
Later's 1 second.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be inspiring, and inspiration is joyful, you know. But if we're planning like a project or something, I catch myself doing this, you know, like, I got a few minutes here. I'm gonna think my way through this project, this birdhouse I'm building, or whatever it might be.
I mean, even
know,
sometimes
something.
it's not intentional. You know,
Yeah.
you're not intentionally saying, "Oh,
Right,
we have some
right.
time." I need the mind just automatically goes there. It's
Yeah.
crazy. All that.
Yeah, habit, you know. So yeah, we do have to cultivate and train the mind to a certain extent. That is the practice. You know, that's a part of that skillful effort. You know, step 6 in the Eightfold Path, skillful effort. We have to apply effort. You know, like a little bit of this, you know, but not much, not
Well,
too
you would-
much.
My hindrance, I'm either planning or worrying. That's what I do.
But
But even in that,
It's
like even
desire.
in the worrying, I'm like, I wish my kid wouldn't do this or that or that. Like, so desire is so subtle that we don't even. It's the crown
Yeah.
jewel. It's so big and so encompassing. But we don't always recognize it.
It
because
underlies everything, even the planning
Yeah.
is some kind of desire,
Yep.
you know, to get something
Yep.
done or whatever that may be.
And the crown jewel of the crown jewel is the desire for things to be different.
Different, yeah.
which is the umbrella for everything, you
Yes.
know. If we are present, you know, if we have those moments where we can, you know, sit in meditation like we were talking about before, being present and focusing, you know, and where the body isn't there and we're not worried about our relationships or, you know, where we're at or anything, then there is no desire for those moments. And we can feel that because we feel happy, we feel good, we feel complete. And then, you know, something creeps in, you know, we want, yeah, this is great, this is great. And then we kind of relax, you know, it's like,
Oh, yeah. Let your guard
like,
down.
oh, I got this down, you know, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it goes. You know, we're off to planning, you know, I have to go to Sprouts to get some sushi to you know, the whatever. And it's worse, I mean, it gets worse. I mean, it's because we, you know, the mind gets into this thing outside of meditation. If we let it go wild in meditation, then we're certainly let it going wild in our everyday activities. In the mind, the thoughts go out, and then it creates an emotion. And then if we start getting caught up in that emotion in the area of thoughts, like, why do I feel this way? That is a thinking process encouraging that emotion, and it gets worse and worse and worse. You know, so we really owe to ourselves to be able to remind ourselves that, hey, that was good, because we can't really go in there and go, let's see, is there any hindrances? Which one is? Are they, you know, where'd they go? Because it's just not, it's not going to work that way. So on the review or the recall, we can go, oh, there was a good moment, a good solid 2 breaths where there is no hindrances or whatever it might be, you know, and just kind of, it proves to ourselves that it's possible, you know, to rest in that place where there's no hindrances. And if we can do that, you know, a good way to test that is when you wake up in the morning before the planning, you know, of the mind. When you first wake up in the morning, there certainly shouldn't be any hindrances. And that's a good time to try to expand that. You know, no negativity, you know, no desires. You're kind of drowsy, but you shouldn't be sleepy. Last couple of mornings I've been kind of tired when I wake up, but
I get drowsy first thing in the morning. I mean, after maybe a glass of water, wash my face and everything, then I can. But otherwise, if I just get up and sit in the bed and meditate, I'll sleep. I'll be drowsy. I can't do that.
have to mainline some
I'll go back
espresso.
to sleep. Not happening.
Lunch is excellent.
Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week, if not before.